says discovering the formula for the average value of a function. The average value of a function represents the average height. Another way of thinking of it is what's the average y value as you go from one bound to the other. So if you look at the y value all the way through, what's the average y value from A to B, or the average height? So draw a horizontal line segment from x equals A to x equals B. So between A and B, I'm going to draw a horizontal line segment which could represent the average height. So something in the middle, like here. So draw a horizontal line that could represent the middle of that. So you have as much above as below, a middle part, a horizontal line. It says find the area of that rectangle that was formed. So this rectangle that was formed goes from what's the width and the height of it. So the width would be B subtract A, right? The upper minus lower bound, and then whatever that height was would give you the area. Then it says when you integrate that, can you now solve for the average height? So from A to B, how do you find the area of what I just drew in terms of from A to B? And you integrate from A to B. And that's equal to B minus A times the height. So the question is, what do you think the height represents in terms of that? B minus A. So if I integrate from A to B, f at x dx, I have to then divide, this is off my screen, I then have to divide by the difference of the bounds. And that gives me the average height. The formula is down here below. How do you find the average value? That's the average y values. Is you integrate what your bounds are, and then you subtract by how big the area you looked at, or the width of the region, by going B subtract A. You could also have 1 over B subtract A, that fraction, in front of the integration. Because really that's just a constant, 1 over B minus A, and you could also write that in front, and then do the integration. And that can be helpful actually too. So example 4, find the average value of this function. So what am I asked for average value? What's the average y values? What's the average output? So if you looked at every single y value in that bound, what's the average y value in that one? So we're going to go from 0 to 2. So first of all, what's the width of our bound? How would I find that? The width of the region from 0 to 2? I would just go 2 subtract 0. So 2 subtract 0 is 2, and that's going to be my denominator. And it's okay to practice that. Being the denominator, you can actually put that as 1/2 in front. Then we're going to integrate from B to A, or from A to B. In this case, it's from 0 to 2, and then you integrate the function, and it's x cubed minus x. That means the same as from 0 to 2, x cubed minus x, and that should have a dx here. They're equal to each other. But it actually is nicer to integrate with a 1/2 in front than having the 2 in the denominator. So I'm going to stick with the 1/2 in front. So with the 1/2 in front, I'm going to use brackets or parentheses. Could you integrate x cubed minus x? So add 1 to the exponent. It's x to the 4th divided by 4. This becomes minus x squared divided by 2. And we're integrating from 0 to 2. And then close it. So keep going. The 1/2 in front, bracket. First we plug in 2. So it's 2 to the 4th over 4 minus 2 squared over 2. Close it. Subtract. Now plug in 0. Well, if I plug in 0 and 0, the answer is going to be 0. And that's it. And you can solve it from there. So let's simplify it fully. 1/2 in front. 2 to the 4th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16 divided by 4, which is 4. 2 squared is 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So 4 take away 2 is 2, and then 1/2 of 2, the answer is 1. What did we find again? The average value of that function. That means that positive 1 is the average of all the y-coordinates. So if you took every single y-coordinate from 0 to 2 for x, the average y value is positive 1. All right, let's look at it again. This, I think, is our last example. And then you get to practice and ask me questions on Tuesday. Okay, use your calculator to find the value of c in the interval from 0 to 2, where the f at c, that's the y value, the average value found in example number 4. So we said the average y value was what number? Positive 1. So what's the x value that goes with that y value? That's what it's asking for. C represents the x value when y is equal to 1. So how do I find the x value when y is 1? So at what point do you find that average value? So what does y equal again? Up here, x cubed minus x. And we want to know when that is equal to what number? 1. So y equals 1. Or y is x cubed minus x equal 1. How do I solve this? Well, use your calculator. It would be tempting because you could try. It's a polynomial, so it's nice to make it equal to 0 and solve. This is not obviously factorable to try to find it. So there's not a way to solve it by hand would be challenging. So how would you use your calculator to solve it? I love the ability to keep going back to your Ferrari. To be able to solve it. So I'm going to back to my calculator. How do I get off this graphing part? Is I press the shaky calculator button. That's the scratch pad. And then how do I solve an equation? Is I press menu, I go to algebra, and then I go to solve. That's 1. And then what am I going to type in? X cubed, move the cursor, subtract x, subtract 1. Now that's not enough. We got to make it equal to 0. Still not enough. Comma. Remember the comma is underneath the pi. It's way down here in the bottom left. Whoa. So the comma is underneath the pi. The comma tells the calculator what letter to solve for. So comma, and then come back here. Put in the letter x, because that's what you're solving for, and now you're ready to press enter. Enter. What? Oh, let's move the cursor over. Did it freeze on me? Oh, it has like this little fun little clock going on. It's spinning. Oh, there you go. I just had to be patient. So what is x equal? Is 1.23 and so on. Now, in calculus for the AP exam, we're practicing that you should at least round to 3 decimals, even if you're not told. So the answer here would be x equals 1.32472. So it's okay to truncate and just put 1.324 as your answer. Or you could add more decimals. It's important to know that this x value is inside that domain restriction from 0 to 2. Let's say there was more than one x value. Let's say that the answer was 1 point something, negative 1 point something, negative 10. You'd have to pick the answers that are in your bound from 0 to 2. And that is in there. So there's your answer. All right, I need you to do your homework. We're getting into more challenging material now in terms of the beginning of the unit. So, and the next one's going to deal with volume and cross sections and all kinds of interesting things. So we got to stick together on this. So do your homework this weekend. Practice with your calculator. Be prepared on Tuesday to ask me whatever questions you want so that before I give you the quiz, you feel ready. All right, have a great weekend.